I want to thank one of our sponsors, the Joplin Greenhouse and Coffee, a local business who supports local business. And they also make our community great. Without sponsors like the Joplin Greenhouse and Coffee, our program, the Donnie B Show, and the MAGA Locally platform would not be here today. So we would like to thank our sponsor, the Joplin Greenhouse and Coffee. When you get a chance, they got some great coffee. Go in and meet their team. They'll be happy to serve you.
I don't always drink water, but when I do, it has to be bougie. The secret is in the water, my friend.
Welcome to the Donnie B Show on the MAGA Locally platform. Today we have Senator Jill Carter, District 32. Welcome, Senator.
Hey, good morning. Good afternoon.
I understand it's been a busy week. Could you maybe give us a rundown on what happened this week and then maybe a little bit what's happening next week? And then I know you got a special event planned tomorrow evening, so we'll close with that.
Yeah, no, we had a really great week. Actually, we had 4 bills that were heard. This week was a flurry of events. But a few of the bills that were heard, we had SB 990, which is a placard bill to make it to where people who were handicapped, permanently disabled, didn't have to keep going back to get a doctor's notice, a doctor's note to be able to get that placard. So they will have to go back and get the plate every 5 years or the placard every 5 years, but they don't have to go get the doctor's note. I mean, that just a little something, but something that I thought was really helpful.
I think that's a big deal. You know, cutting out a little bit of red tape between for your constituents. That's awesome.
Yeah, especially when you have our disabled veterans and other people that are disabled. They're not going to grow their limbs back. You know, that just is never going to happen. So to kind of just give them a little bit of dignity and not having to go back and get the doctor's notice every time.
Absolutely.
And then there was another senator that was talking about a blind man in his district that's a constituent. In order for them to go back and get some kind of disability verification, they have to go back and get an optometrist note every so often. So it's like, legally blind. I don't know that that's ever going to change. So that was a great conversation to have in committee. I hope that will be exec out next week. We had obviously the Senate Bill 1120, which is our presidential preference primary bill. That was something that was debated and discussed also this week. That will return us back to a presidential preference primary with a vote of the people. So
I've been hearing lots of rumbling about the way it went down this year. A lot of people that couldn't show up for that 2-hour window of time. And so does that bill actually make it where there's more participation in it possibly than it was this year?
Actually, always been, or has historically been. And then, just back to the ballot. We'll still continue to have caucuses. People can participate in those caucuses, which is really an important, component to all of this. But those delegates will be based on the election, the presidential preference primary election. So that's a great piece of legislation to try to get across the finish line. We had all this momentum, and so I just spoke with the senator over that elections committee, and just said, hey, this is kind of a push button issue right now. I don't know that it will be, in 2 or 3 years. So let's go ahead and get this done. So she had that heard. So I was appreciative of that. And then there are SJR 76, which is a work requirement for health benefits. So if you're on if you're getting welfare, Medicaid, Medicare, not Medicaid, then there's a work requirement, either a trade or education or something that all qualifies. It's up to 80 hours a month. And so, like I said, you can volunteer and work somewhere at a not-for-profit. There's lots of carve-outs, honestly, in it, just for people with disabilities, people with young families. But for those people who are able-bodied, able to work, we've worked really hard with the DHSS on this and to try to come up with a good piece of legislation that will help people get back to work. So that was heard this week. It was great to have James Whittiford come and testify there from the Joplin area. Really appreciated his testimony. It was really powerful.
He's with Watered Gardens, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Is that the same?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. My sons and I went and served on Christmas Eve at Watered Gardens, and he gave a wonderful Christmas Eve dinner ceremony for everybody, and it was really pretty awesome to be a part of.
Yeah, he's awesome. One of the most, impressive people.
Very great, good speaker. Yeah.
Yeah, he's great. He's very impassioned.
Yeah.
And then our last one that was heard was our sheriff's bill, SJR 75, to make our constitutional sheriffs that designation for our sheriffs. So that was a good piece of legislation, again, that was heard. Today we passed on the floor the concurrent resolution for MSSU. So that got passed. So yeah, it's been a busy week. And then we had education drop yesterday. So that was an experience.
You're cutting out just a little bit on me, but I think I got part of that. So, going back to the sheriffs, I understood that most of the sheriffs had a meeting with the federal government, and that the FBI basically briefed sheriffs across the country on things. And I've been hearing YouTube channels and some rumblings, and some of these sheriffs are talking about there's quite a bit of overreach from the federal government. And I know that you have a bill going forward, and that's really to protect our constituents of District 32 from that federal overreach. Is that right? Do I understand that correctly?
Yes, the SJR 75. It's like I said, it's our constitutional sheriff's bill, and so that will allow that designation of sheriffs. Most people don't realize that in Missouri we don't have a constitutional designation for sheriffs. And so at any time,
I didn't know that,
the governor or the legislature could just, with a stroke of a pen, eliminate that role of sheriff.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
So we're trying to, that's the goal, is just to say the office of a sheriff is very important, and here's their constitutional responsibilities, and just to make sure that office would never be eliminated.
I think that's a great bill. And I understand you guys got IP reform pushed through last week. It was, I think.
I think it was 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago.
Education bill that came up yesterday. I mean, if we want to talk about that, we can a little bit.
Yeah, that'd be great. Love to hear.
So we're still trying to decide what's in that bill. It was dropped. It was a 12-page bill initially. Obviously, I'm a proponent of parents having, a say in their children's education, being a huge advocate of choice myself with my own children's education. But policy matters. It matters a lot. And so sometimes what happens is bills are tagged with titles that make it very hard to vote against, because, you'll have a Parents' Bill of Rights drop, or you'll have some of these things that are tagged with a freedom principle title. And then you feel like if you vote against it, then obviously it's going to come back and haunt you, because then everybody will say you voted against, police officers, or you voted against, all this other stuff.
That's the poison pills. That's the poison pills that the public doesn't understand, the gamesmanship that's taking place in the Senate and in the House, that's how they can apply pressure to you or to other senators. And then really they put your back up against the wall. So yeah, it's a difficult position. That compromise it's a graceful art that you have to do well. Yeah.
So we, like I said, that went from a 12-page bill to a 150-page bill. The fiscal note wasn't even attached to it, so we didn't know how much. The estimation was it was going to be about $500 million.
Wow.
So, having not had the time to read it, not having the time to even go through the fiscal note, we were just on the floor trying to digest this. I stood up on the floor and asked, is the intent to go to perfect this today? And so it was perfected. And today it was a final vote. I did abstain from the final vote, simply because, again, earlier in the session, we had deliberated, I was in agreement that if a bill dropped to the floor that you didn't have time to read, then it was something that would be a problem. Like, we can't govern like this, even if in the name of good, then, if we're willing to compromise on something that we think may be good, but not have the time to really go through and process what it is that the laws we're changing, then I think that sets a dangerous precedent. And I think that's how we've gotten where we are in a lot of regards.
No,
So
I think the people are behind you on that, because at a national level, that's happened so much. They dropped this omnibus bill that nobody's had time to read, and then they hold you accountable for not. Why aren't you voting? Well, it would have took us 30 days to read the entire thing. So now it's happening at a state level. I think the people they understand that, but we just got to let them know that, the process, this is what's happening. They're dropping this at the last minute with changes, and we just can't pass a bad bill. And I think those of you who are doing that are doing the right thing. We just got to educate the voters that, would you rather have a bill passed, or would you rather have a good bill passed?
yeah,
Right?
no, and that's it, the intentionality of what's behind it. And so
Yeah.
again, like I said, I went ahead and voted on principle in favor of the bill initially, but today, I couldn't give my final stamp of approval. You give a vote. Your first vote is for it to be perfected. Vote on the substitute. Obviously, you want to vote on the substitute so it can continue to move forward, so you can have deliberation. So I voted on that. Voted on bringing it to the floor. All of those steps. But today, a final approval of it. Again, the fiscal note still wasn't defined until this morning, and there was still some question with the Republicans and the Democrats as to whether that fiscal note was a true snapshot of what the costs would be. And so I abstained from a final stamp of approval.
So what do you think the next step is going to be with this bill?
It will go to the House, where it will be taken up.
So it did pass, and it went through, and it's going to the House right now. So did anybody else abstain, or could you hear me? Did anybody else vote similar to the way you did, or abstain from voting?
There were several that weren't on the floor. Several Republicans. Mike Moon voted no against it. Blaine Gannon, Lincoln Huff, Justin Brown. I'm trying to think of any others. But anyway.
Okay.
Like I said, you're put into a conundrum either way. And so I can't vote in support of something, but I don't want to say I'm opposed to it either. So you're just kind of, okay, well, the best thing that I can do is just say, I haven't had enough time to have, enough input to make a good public about this. And so I just abstained.
And I think people will want that. I think people are tired of things just getting shoved through. They'd rather not have anything go through, because I've often been told that the best thing legislators can do is just not pass more bills. Quit pushing things on the people without really knowing the impact of what's going on. So I think that's a great thing. Senator, I know you're busy. We got storms coming in, so we might be having a little bit of a bad connection. I know we're coming in and out, so I'll keep this short. I know you have a great event happening tomorrow night. The doors open at 6:00. Could you give us a little bit of update on what's going on and about how many people showing up and what people can expect when they get there?
Yeah, so we have a night for the people. This is something that I think is really important to me. It's important to my team to make sure that people know that there are times when we need to just get together to kind of fill each other's cups and talk about things that help us feel like we're together in this governing, in what it is that we're doing as far as government, and not so much to just talk about policy, but just to, I don't know, I liken it to, the living room conversation where you just get together and you break bread together and you just have a good conversation and you have a good presentation. And so that's the hope. We're going to have dinner. We have Aaron Dorr coming to speak with Missouri Firearms Coalition. Just an awesome powerhouse of a speaker if you haven't heard him speak. And then we have Elijah O'Neill with the Mercury One Radios and the American Experience Museum. So going to be a great night. Congressman Eric Burleson is going to be there as well. We're going to be handing out a few citizen awards for those who just give so much back to our community. A lot of VIP community members are going to be there. I know Officer Hershey's coming with his wife, and people don't remember
Awesome.
he was the one that was shot in the face, and during
Yeah.
that experience in Joplin where we lost several officers. And so I'm just hoping that people feel welcome to come. Again, we're not going to talk a lot about policy, but just celebrate.
You know,
You know,
I attended the last one and I thought, we're going to listen to this boring pontificating, typical politics, right? And it was far from that. It was very inspiring. It made you feel good when you left at the end of the night. And I think this one's even going to be better with the speakers that I see lined up. You have dinner being catered from Union Station, so you get a free meal out of it. And, it was just a really relaxed, low key. You got to talk to people one on one, and you got to share your experiences about how we want to make America great again. So I appreciate you going through all the trouble of setting this up. I know it's a lot of work behind the scenes to get something like this set up. So I think I appreciate it. And we got a table there. So we're going to be there. We're going to have a good time. And so people can show up at 5:30. The doors open at 6. It's going to last between 6 to 8 o'clock, I think.
yep. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And
And
again,
I know Reggie's running the clock, so he's going to keep it precise down to the minute on time and have everybody out of there at 8. So
yes, bless Reggie. Reggie is shout out to Reggie. Yeah, we love him. We're going to recognize him also for his hard work. And so put a name to a
Great.
face for everybody. I just want
Great.
you to know I want the people to know who our team is, what we represent, and I want them to feel as connected to this thing that we have, which is called governance by the people, as much as possible. So
Awesome. Well, Senator, I won't take any more of your time. Drive safe. The storms are coming through. So if you're driving
All right.
back to your hometown, be careful. And we appreciate all you're doing up there.
Sure appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Senator Carter. If you enjoyed today's show, you could really help us. The only thing you have to do is hit the like button or hit the subscribe button and share this with your friends and family. If you'd like to get involved but you don't know how, that's one simple way that you can help us make America great again. And we're going to start it at the local level. That's why our interviews are focused on our city politicians, our city officials, our state representatives, and our local businessmen. We ask for your support, and all you have to do is hit the like button, the subscribe button, and then share it with friends and family. Thank you, and have a great day.